Let's build a brighter future for our communities. Let's build a brighter future for our
We're here today with our director, Marty Roberts. A lot of folks don't know the story behind Lot 2540, how the name came about, and the reason that the mission exists. So Marty, how did it happen?
Well, I think we'd be remiss to not include our biggest partner in the mission, and that is just God. I think that He brought about an opportunity to break our hearts, and I love to tell people that I love when God does that, because that's our passion. So, as we went through our lives working in corporate America back in 2009 and 10, we began to see a trend of families and individuals that were in crisis, not only in Rockingham County but in Guilford County. We're doing some work as well, Dave and I, and got a call in December 2010 from a pastor who was looking for resources for a family in Rockingham County that was on the streets. And I think the Lord just used that moment in time to just kind of break my heart over it. And I called David. I remember calling him and saying, "Hey, David, we've got to do something about helping families get restored back into productivity and being healthy." We started going around and looking at what other people were doing in other communities throughout the Southeast, and what other missions were out there, and we took a look at some models that included some upcycling and some restoration and salvaging. And one day we were talking about that, and I just happened to look up the word salvage, which means to save from loss for future use. And that really struck me that if everybody could understand that what we're doing with lives, are just looking to salvage people and looking to save them from loss and from brokenness, so that they can be productive again and have value in their communities. We decided we were going to do a model similar to what Habitat for Humanity does, so with just a little bit different mission. I remember going into one over in Winston-Salem, over off of Stratford. They used to have one there that was really artsy and eclectic, and I was showing my dad. He was in town. I was showing him this model and telling him about how we had this concept that we wanted to do a thrift store where there was upcycling and recycling, and kind of had a green theme, and that way we could kind of show the public, this is what we're hoping to see accomplished with families. Dad proceeded to say, "Well, that's great, but how in the world would you find this much product to put in a store?" Because it was a huge store, and it had doors and windows and furnishings and appliances. It had all the things that a Habitat store had. And I said, I think we just have to just keep saying yes, and God will work that out. In the spring of 2011, we were just talking about it. Anybody that we'd come into contact with, we'd talk about the mission. And we were actually working one day. James Caffarel and I were out, and we're at Adelaide's down on Spring Garden in Greensboro, and we were telling her about this concept we had for restoration, because she was doing a lot of upcycling and recycling as well. And she said, "Well, you guys need to talk to my friend." And he's the homeowners association president over in Glenwood neighborhood. And we were like, "Well, sure, we'd love to talk to him, And she said, "Well, he's in the back painting a piece of furniture. Let me go get him." So as God would have it, Ken was there that day, and we got introduced to him, and he loved our concept. He loved what we were talking about doing. And UNCG, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, happened to be buying a large portion of this neighborhood that he was the homeowners association president for, to put in new student housing. And so one of the conditions that the neighborhood was willing to allow this to happen was that they salvaged and saved as much materials as they could. Right. So short couple weeks later, we're standing in a big war room over at UNCG, and they're dividing up the neighborhood to Preservation Greensboro and Greensboro Housing, and different groups that were going to do different things to preserve structures and move structures and save as much as they could from the landfill. And they turned around and looked at Dave and I and said, "Would you guys be willing to salvage anything out of these houses that was 50 years and newer?" Yes. So we went outside. I remember telling David that I thought that I was going to throw up. I did not throw up, but I felt like I would, because it was like jumping out of an airplane. Yes. So we went from nothing to something in a short 2-week period of time. And then we said, well, we may want to go ahead and incorporate and get a business, and so and do all that. So we had to play catch up real quick. And we did that, and we were like little moles with our headlamps working in these houses for months. And then we put them on on trailers and move them up to Mayodan, to our first location here in town. But lot stands for least of these, and we really the 2540 is from Matthew 25:40, and we believe that we're all the least of these. We think that we're all in it together, that we're a community of people that are all coming together to heal together. And so that scripture in Matthew, where it talks about how we treat each other and how we care for the sick and feed the hungry and clothe the naked and visit those in prison, and that when we do, that it's an act of worship, and we're doing that for Jesus. That's what we're doing here at the lot. We love taking care of our neighbors, but it's really an act of worship for us as we do it. So
Yeah. Well, it's such a cool story. Just how from nothing, just this everything that exists here now is it's amazing. And every day we see folks come through that door. Giving them a meal is just one small part of it.
yeah, the food's important. People need
Mhm.
food, but also for us, it's an opportunity to build relationship.
Right.
And so when we're feeding people, we've got a strategy to get to know them and talk about what's going on in their lives and share, part of our story, because we all have stories of what we've healed from. And people need to hear that. People need to know there's hope, because the world wants to tell them that they don't stand a chance and that they're not worthy of getting any help or having hope.
Right.
So it's up to us, it's up to you and me and her, and to share that hope with people. That's what it's all about, and share
Right.
God's love with them.
Let's build a brighter future for our community.